of the 42 tribal communities that we serve and support with their energy needs, over 90% of these communities are off the road system, meaning that you cannot drive to them. So they are incredibly remote. So we access, and I visit many of these communities primarily via small bush planes. So, and in the summertime, they are accessible via barges or other watercraft, small boats. So logistically, when it comes to their energy needs, these islanded microgrids, they are powered primarily off diesel power generation. What you see on this map ahead of you or in front of you is 8 communities. They're primarily along the Yukon River, one of the largest rivers in Alaska, and they all are generally the same size, similar with their loads are very similar. And the goal is to install solar and batteries, large solar and battery installations in these communities that can be in the summer months, which we have large solar resource, to be kind of the prime solar or the prime energy source that can really displace hopefully up to 40% of the fuel, since we'll be trying to use that resource as much as possible during the summer months and even in the shoulder season, so like spring and fall when there's still suitable light.
What you're looking at now is work of 20 years. So we before actually we founded Xendee, I started this in 2001. So we're actually looking at 23 years of work on the back engine. And it was as it was still with the national lab system. And it was, you needed a PhD to run this, but we realized that we have to simplify this. And this is why we started the company, to really add these interfaces to make it simpler to use, because that's the only way how you can transform the market. So there's a lot of knowledge going into this. We did more than 200 journal papers. It got reviewed, by companies. We benchmarked it against manual methodologies and everything. But at the end of the day, it was a 20-year process to get to this point.
I'm going to start closing out here by looking at what the project actually will look like in this case. And so we've got a quick kind of animation on screen here. I'm just going to pause it throughout a few moments. So what we're looking at is just a very simplified, almost like a single line diagram of the proposed sites. There are 8 remote communities involved in the project. So this is by no means precisely what we're installing, but a generalization of across all 8 communities. They had a similar electrical makeup. So in all cases, there wasn't an existing utility grid as we think of it to tie into. So oftentimes the microgrids that we'll see in the lower 48 are in some way connected to the broader grid and just have the ability to disconnect through a contactor automatic transfer switch. In this instance, we're really adding to an existing grid.
Earlier this year, it was announced in February at one of these conferences in California that TCC, Tanana Chiefs Conference, was selected as one of the awardees. And so we've just been actively in the initial stages of this grant for $26 million plus. And so we've been working adamantly on these initial stages, now following up and moving, trying to, gain the momentum again for engineering to get issued for construction design. So that's kind of been the world post feasibility for us, because at the end of the day, the customers, the ratepayers in these small communities are kind of put in this burdensome position where they're paying hundreds of dollars per month. And, it's definitely a difficult position to be in when there's a community of 60 people paying 3 to 5 times the national price of, electricity. And, in some of the poorest communities in America. So this is a huge sigh of relief to see that there's these optimized systems going to be installed to really tackle that big issue of liquid fuel diesel, which is, you know, only increasing in price. So being able to stabilize that is pivotal.